Now with free agency starting to slow down like me after 2 minutes of walking, I thought that this would be a perfect time to start grading all of the Raiders pickups so far in free agency. But before we do get started, Raider Nation, if this is the very first time you guys are coming across this channel and you love daily Raider content, then hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon button to notify you guys when I upload more videos just like this. Now we are on the verge of 50,000 subscribers on the channel. So if you guys haven't already, man, hit that subscribe button. It does a lot for the channel and it shows a lot of support to me. With that said, putting all that aside, let's start talking about all the pickups that the Raiders have had so far in the offseason. And we're going to go all the way back to the Raiders re-signing Isaiah Pola-Mao. Now, Isaiah Pola-Mao came and re-signed with the team on a 2-year, $8.45 million deal. And of course, you guys know how I feel about this. I really love the move, not only because, you know, he's Samoan and he's my cousin, but the very fact that Isaiah Pola-Mao is still a player that is slowly coming into himself. And just after having a whole season to himself last year, I think he was one of the bright spots in the secondary. And knowing the Raiders, we're not going to get Trayvon Merrick back. We're not getting Marcus Epps back. They both took their jabroni asses to another team. But it's okay, because if there's a guy that I feel like could get the most out of Isaiah, it's definitely head coach Pete Carroll. Knowing that he coached his uncle, Troy Polamalu, back at USC and seeing how well he turned out, I feel like he could do that very same exact thing over here in Las Vegas. And he's going to have much more bigger role this season, barring if the Raiders go out and sign any more other safeties. But if not, I expect a lot out of Isaiah Pola-Mao. And seeing how much the Raiders paid him, it's most likely that Isaiah's going to get a lot of PT this year. So if I had to grade this move so far, I'd give it a solid B. Now moving on to, I would say, the biggest move this offseason for the Raiders is trading a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft to the Seattle Seahawks for our quarterback, Geno Smith. Now this is a move that I really do like. Now, Geno Smith wasn't at the top of my list, but knowing that the Raiders went out and signed Pete Carroll as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, it only made sense that he was going to bring somebody he was familiar with, and we know how high he feels about Geno Smith. Their relationship back at Seattle was second to none, and I know there was other names like Russell Wilson, who I wouldn't have minded over here as well, but Pete Carroll gets his guy, and I know that this move wouldn't have been done if Pete Carroll, John Spytek, and Tom Brady weren't all on the same page. Now, getting Geno Smith definitely solidifies the quarterback position for the Raiders, and why I like this move so much is that the Raiders were able to do this right before free agency, and for a 3rd-round pick, I don't think it's a bad price. We basically swapped Devontae Adams for Geno Smith. Say as you may, I'm not going to say that he's on the same level as Devontae Smith, but for a team that struggles at the quarterback position, this was a big move for the Raiders. And we didn't have to worry about the quarterback position and free agency. Looking at all these teams scrambling for a quarterback, like the Giants, the Browns, the Vikings, it makes me feel a little bit better knowing that we have our guy intact. On top of that, it gives the Raiders a lot of flexibility in the NFL draft. We don't have to get a quarterback early on. If they want to go get it, then that's totally fine. We're going to have to find somebody that could be mentored and take over in the future, but as for right now, the Raiders got their quarterback in place. So with that number 6 overall pick, there's a lot of options that the Raiders can go in, whether they want to solidify the defensive side of the ball or go get the number 1 running back or the number 1 wide receiver. And for that, I actually would give this a solid B+. Now, the reason why I'm not going to give it a whole A right now, because we still got to wait for what the Raiders are going to do with his contract extension, because there's a lot of rumors going around that Geno Smith is looking to get around $40 to $45 million per year. And that's the only thing that kind of makes me nervous about the signing if he doesn't live up to that contract. But other than that, I think it was a great move overall for this team. Now, the next move we're going to talk about is the Raiders re-signing defensive tackle Adam Butler to a 3-year, $16.5 million deal. Now, I really love this move as well. I'm not trying to sound like a homer, and I know I do sound like a homer right now, but Adam Butler has been one of the most underrated players in the NFL, especially on the defensive line for the Raiders. Last year, having one of his best seasons yet in the silver and black, and he provides a lot of depth at a position of need for the Raiders. And it's good to see that the Raiders brought him back at a solid price. He'll be coming over here, reuniting with Patrick Graham, and could possibly see an increase in his role. So for that, I'd give this move a solid B for the Raiders. Now, for the very first actual free agent signing for the Raiders, it took the Raiders some time in free agency to finally make a move, but they bring in safety Jeremy Chin on a 2-year, $16 million deal, and I love this move from the team. You know, recently losing Trayvon Merrick to the Carolina Panthers and seeing how much the Carolina Panthers paid him, even though I was one guy that I wanted Trayvon Merrick to stay in the silver and black, and I was down to pay him as much as he wanted to get. But my oh my, Trayvon Merritt got a huge deal to go over there to Carolina, and I don't mind that. Go get your money. But the Raiders got somebody, I would say, with just as much of a ceiling as Trayvon Merritt, and on top of that, is coming off of his best season yet and fits a need for the Raiders. He's a plug-and-play player, especially in Pete Carroll's defense, and I could definitely see Jeremy Chinn making the most of his opportunity here in Las Vegas. And for the deal that we got him for and how much we saved just signing a guy like Jeremy Chinn, and on top of that, being an athletic and physical safety that the Raiders definitely need in the secondary, it's another solid move for the team. And I know this is going to be the same thing I'm going to say for a lot of these players, because I really feel like the Raiders did a solid job in free agency. I think the Raiders did a good job, and a lot of people are sleeping on it. A lot of Raider fans are sleeping on it as well. I know we didn't sign all the big names, but Jeremy Chinn was definitely a good start for the Raiders, and I would give this move a B+. Now, this next move, I would say is possibly, or is, my favorite move that we made in the offseason so far, and that is re-signing Malcolm Koonce on a 1-year, $12 million prove-it deal. I was really excited about this move when the Raiders announced that we brought back Malcolm Koonce. I was ecstatic, and I was kind of nervous that he was one of the players that I thought we were going to lose because he was going to go and want to get his money. But knowing that he's coming off of injury, knowing that he didn't really get to show what he could do last season, I think that he wanted to come back and run it back, especially with Patrick Graham back running the defense. I think it only made a lot of sense for Malcolm Koonce to come back. But not only that, he's coming back at a big discount, a 1-year prove-it deal. And I think that's perfect for the Raiders because Malcolm Koonce could still be the answer for us opposite of Max Crosby. And if he can come over here this upcoming season in 2025 and show and add to what he did at the end of 2023, I think that this would have been a perfect move. And the Raiders could sign him and keep him in the silver and black for many more years to come if he can end up being the guy that we all expect him to be. He's already familiar with this defense. He's got a lot of upside. And if he could stay healthy, he could possibly break out this season. So for that, I'd give this move a solid A. Next up is cornerback Lonnie Johnson Jr. coming from the Carolina Panthers. The Raiders add yet to the secondary yet again because we definitely need a lot of depth at that position. Now, Lonnie Johnson Jr. has been making his rounds around the NFL, jumping from team to team to team, but he provides a lot of versatility, and for his size, I think he fits Pete Carroll's system perfectly. He hasn't done much in the NFL, and we don't really know his contract as of right now, but the most I see out of him as far as his first year with the Raiders is a special teams player. But one reason why I do got a lot of respect for him is just watching his press conference, and you could tell he's a guy that has a chip on his shoulder and is ready to make the most of his opportunity, especially over here in Las Vegas. He spoke about how good his meeting was with Pete Carroll and the respect that he has for him, and just knowing that Pete Carroll is going to try to utilize him somewhat of what he did in Seattle, like he did with all the other big DBs, a part of the LOB. Not saying that we're going to recreate that over here in Las Vegas, but Lonnie Johnson seems like a guy that's going to come over here and provide depth at most. If he could do anything more than that, then I think that would be good for the Raiders. But as far as Lonnie Johnson Jr. coming over here, not really a big name, not really anybody I expect much out of, but more of a depth piece signing for the Raiders. So I give this move a C+. The next player we're going to talk about is linebacker Elandon Roberts. Now, I did not know too much about him before we signed him, but I was able to look him up, do my due diligence, and finding more about him, and then watching his press conference that he had in front of the Raidernation. I really love this dude, man. And knowing that we had a vacancy at the linebacker position after Robert Spillane went and signed with the New England Patriots, it's good that the Raiders was able to bring him in. And not only that, the Raiders brought him in on a 1-year, $3 million deal. So looking at that, I was like, this is such a great deal for the Raiders. But then looking at what he was able to do last season and what he's been able to do over his career, he's a veteran that provides that depth at the linebacker room. And not only that, he seems like a leader. When you hear him talk, especially at his press conference, he's a guy that I could definitely see wearing the green dot this upcoming season. Now, I'm not going to sit back and act like he's going to be better than Robert Spillane, but it's like we replaced Robert Spillane with an identical player. You look at his PFF grades, nearly identical to Robert Spillane. You look at the way he's able to play against the run, he's great against the run. And to me, he seems like a more athletic Robert Spillane. Now, they both struggle in coverage, which is totally fine. But if he can do his job out there and just be that heart of the defense, then I think that this is a good move for the Raiders. And also to add on to that, seeing so many Steelers fans really upset with Elandon Roberts leaving and coming to sign with the Raiders, especially for the deal we got him for, it's kind of like how us Raider fans felt with Robert Spillane going to the New England Patriots. And it makes me feel a little bit better knowing that he was a guy that was a fan favorite, and just seeing the way that he perceives himself, especially after his press conference. I'm definitely a big fan of him, and I got a lot of respect for him, and I cannot wait to see him play in the silver and black, which is why I would give this signing a B+. Now, the next player we're going to talk about is cornerback Eric Stokes. The Raiders brought him in for a 1-year, $4 million deal. Now, Eric Stokes, a former first-round pick in the NFL draft for the Green Bay Packers, has had his ups and downs in the NFL so far. Now, one of the things that made him stand out, especially coming into the league, was his combine running a 4.2940, which is blazing fast and shows that he has that speed. But I would say it hasn't really translated to the NFL just yet. But after having a solid rookie season and with so much potential, so much upside, he's dealt with his fair shares of injuries and hasn't looked the same since. Now, last year, he had a much better season. Going into this year, especially coming over here, he's looking to revitalize his career. And I feel like a change of scenery can do a lot for a player. And hopefully for Eric Stokes, coming over here to Las Vegas, maybe he could be the player that a lot of people expected him to be coming out of the draft. He definitely provides a lot of depth at a position of need at the quarterback room. We're still going to have to address that room a lot more in free agency and even in the NFL draft. This is definitely a low risk, high reward type of move for the Raiders. And even though I don't expect much out of him, the ceiling is high for him. So with that said, I'll give this signing a B-. And the last player that the Raiders have signed, because we haven't signed anybody just yet, is running back Raheem Mostert to a 1-year, $2.1 million deal. Again, another really solid move from the Raiders, another value pickup. I know a lot of people are calling John Spytek Coupon John and Coupon Pete. Shout out to my boy Josh. But it's true. I mean, a $2.1 million deal for a running back that is just coming off of what? Pro Bowl season to just 2 years ago. I know last year really had a down year, and he's dealt with his fair shares of injuries throughout his whole career. But like I said, just 2 years ago, man, this dude was leading the league in touchdowns with 21 touchdowns and was utilized perfectly. Now, he does have history with our offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, so he's a guy that knows the system. He's a guy that could come in and provide solid depth at the running back position, another position of need that the Raiders do have. But the fact that the Raiders got him at a good deal makes me more excited about this. And he is a veteran that, if could stay healthy, he could be a really, really good running back in the league. And on top of that, I could see the Raiders adding to the running back room. So Raheem Mostert, and even having the other guys like I'm forgetting their names, Dylan Laube and Sincere McCormick. You bring in a rookie running back that could take over and be the RB1. I think this just provides a lot of depth. Another low risk, high reward type of move for the Raiders. And for that, I'd give this signing another solid B. Now, I know that everything almost sounded like a broken record because I basically gave every single pickup, every single move a B, because I think the Raiders so far has had one of the most underrated offseason so far. Now, I know we didn't go sign all the biggest names, the glitz, the glams. We didn't spend too much on a lot of these players. And I know there was players out there that a lot of Raider fans wanted, but we just didn't get. And I know with week 1 of free agency, I would say it was a good week to start off. Now, next week, hopefully the Raiders can start making a little bit more moves heading into the NFL draft, because I just want to solidify a lot of the positions of need that we do have, at least with some depth. And then you go into the draft and draft the best players available, whoever it may be. The Raiders' biggest needs as of right now is linebacker, running back, wide receiver, cornerback, and defensive line. Those 5 positions are really, really going to be huge for the Raiders, and adding another offensive lineman just to add more depth to this team. But outside of all of that, my overall grade for the Raiders week 1 of free agency so far, I would give it a solid B. But do you guys agree with me? Do you guys think I'm being a little bit biased? Because I'm not gonna lie, I am a biased Raider fan, but I really do like what the Raiders have done so far. Again, that's just my 2 cents in how I feel about it. But let me know what you guys think, and what grade would you give the Raiders so far in free agency? Let me know down in the comments below. Until the next one, this is your boy Simone Raider, and your boy is, yeah.